March 21st, 2020, and happy equinox as of yesterday here in the northern hemisphere. Beautiful sunny day out today. Nice to see the sun back out. We had a couple of days of cloudy, rainy stuff in the end of the week, and I'm just out here starting to assess things for the 2020 grow season, trying to incorporate all sorts of information based on what's going on with the COIVD thing and all that. Anyway, just taking a look at things here with like the chicken tractor was last year. I had the chickens, the chicken tractor docked up here. So I'll back up. You can see the bare spot here where the tractor was sitting, and then I had used this corn and squash area that was fenced in as sort of a hawk protected area for the chickens, that they could get out and scratch in and not interrupt and interfere with other crops. Summertime, I find I have to limit them to the chicken tractor, or they get into all sorts of mischief and dig up mulch and eat all the tasty plants that I want to eat, which I understand, but I do too much work to have them destroy it. So summertime, they go into the chicken tractor and they either get moved around in the chicken tractor every day or every other day. They have green grass. And then this year I decided to experiment with the corn. That worked out pretty well. Once the corn got up high enough that they couldn't knock it over, it gave them a place of cover and a place to scratch and peck, and gave a little extra nutrients to the soil. You can see this area is super dark green already, and we'll kind of work our way up here on this plot. You'll see the different areas where they haven't been. Let's see, this here was buckwheat last year. I will try and get some other shots in here for comparison. And then corn, which was an early planting, didn't do well with the dry weather we had, and I didn't keep up with irrigation. And then you can see the next corn planting here. This is done in successive planting up the plot all the way. And so where was I? So different corn plantings running up the plot here, and at different densities and different varieties. Staged in between that was buckwheat and squash and that sort of thing. So this is sort of a wasn't quite a three sisters operation. It was more of a two sisters operation. There were a few sunflowers in here, but unfortunately a lot of the sunflowers I put in either didn't germinate or got chewed off by the deer. My electric fence is down, and I have not figured out how I'm going to reorchestrate that. I think I should get on that this year. But anyway, so this soil was built up tremendously through last year's work and through a couple of previous years' work. 2 years ago there was potatoes in here. I think there was also potatoes in here 3 years ago. And then this upper plot here, it got too late in the season for me to plant a last planting of corn, and I did run out of seed. So I ended up planting this to buckwheat seed that I had saved from a couple of years before. That had been grown in high nutrition, and that seed was super vigorous, and it was about 4 feet tall at the end of the season, fully flowering, honeybees and bumblebees and all sorts of pollinators all through it. That did really well. I harvested and saved a bunch of that seed, and I will be planting that out somewhere again this year. Interesting to note how the buckwheat leaves quite a bit of mulch when it dies back on the soil. It's not a full protective cover, but boy, there sure is a lot of material there for the microbes to break down as the season comes on here again. And we'll try to take advantage of that this year and get even more soil gains. Anyway, I just thought I would do a quick look through on this, just to kind of show a comparison early season. I had planted my corn a little too dense. I've been increasing the density of plantings every year for a number of years now, and I finally hit the too dense area this year. I did 18-inch spacing between rows, and I think 6-inch between plants. This coming year I'm going to go back to 3-foot spacing between rows, and I'll probably keep 6 or 8 inch spacing between plants. It ended up being a little too dense and actually hurt the yield a bit. So lesson learned, but it was a good experiment to make, and I'm glad I did it. It also put a tremendous amount of density, which does help increase photosynthesis. And if you know anything about soil, photosynthesis is one of the fastest ways to build carbon in the soil and to build soil up, because you're working with the entire system as a whole. Photosynthesis, collecting energy from the sun, plants with excess energy sending exudates down into the soil, feeding the microbe community thriving off of the sugars and exudates from that, and then releasing more mineral nutrition back to the plants. This is how the cycle works with the plant soil system. So it'll be interesting and exciting to see how it goes this year. I just spoke with my son Jeremy last night, and he's interested in doing something as well this year, so maybe we will team up, and maybe we can be a little more efficient this year on the farming operation and really knock a few out of the park. Anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick update here. Let's see, this was buckwheat at the end of the season, also mostly planted for the bees, but also to build soil. I will say I just did a scratch till on this. You can see the lines here from where the scratch till went through. I basically just went through 1 or 2 passes with a tiller, enough to break it up to get seed to germinate in here, and then seeded it. And that did really well also. Of course, that was also foliar fed with complete trace mineral nutrition, and that did pretty well also. The bees were also in here quite a bit. So we'll see how this plot looks now. 2 years ago, and also last year, this strip here was also worked with the chicken tractor. So this has had chicken tractor manure and microbes. I'm sure that would draw the worms in, and then it's also been cover cropped as well. So we're using multiple synergistic stacks, including foliar feeds, to try and build soil very quickly. And I'm pretty sure that this patch will perform pretty nicely this year also. I don't know what's going in here yet, but I'm looking forward to taking advantage of all that soil amplification and seeing how it does for us this year. Alright, that's it for now. I'll probably stumble across something else and blabber on a bit more. If you find this interesting and informative, hope you'll like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.